Hello, and welcome to the Content Bite, a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a freelance journalist, copywriter, and content producer. I'm also the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for Australian writers and other creatives.
And I'm Lynne. I'm a journalist and content writer as well. Rachel and I are your weekly co-hosts, and every week we bring you all kinds of tips, tricks, and some fabulous guests to help you make the most of your freelance business.
You know, feast or famine cycle hits harder without visibility over your finances. And that's why we love Rounded. It's an accounting system that reveals income sources, profitable clients and projects, and it helps you even anticipate quiet periods, doesn't it?
It does. It's great. And I know that because I've been doing this for quite a few years, like 10 years now, I have some real peaks and troughs over the years. And I think having that visibility into my finances really helps me, A, not get stressed, and B, manage that cash flow. I think it's really good.
Yeah, you can claim all the right costs and expenses with Rounders Expense Tracker, and some users have saved thousands through their tax returns. So it's really a total game changer for your money management.
True. Particularly, it's been a tough couple of years with this whole cost of living crisis. And I really like the fact you can track the invoices and payment reminders so you don't have to worry about those things. Like Rounded looks after it all for you.
It definitely does. And it frees up hours for you to either find more clients and earn more or maintain a better work-life balance.
We're all about that.
We are. And if you're a Rachel's List member, you get 20% off the annual Rounded subscription. So check out the show notes for more about that.
Fantastic.
Hi, Lynne. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks.
Look, it's been a while since we chatted about social media, but I think it's time we went there again because there have been some big changes in that whole area, haven't there?
There has, and algorithms are always changing, and AI is becoming big in this space. So I'd love to delve into it again. And I'm excited about our guest today, Keshnee Kemp, who's just started her own agency after a successful stint as head of content at Woolworths, which is one of our biggest companies. I think it's in the top 10 or top 4, probably.
Wow.
She's had such a varied career, and I think it's going to be a good chat.
Yes, she's had some really big jobs, and I think she has a lot to share with us as well. So shall I read out her bio and then we'll get her into the hot seat?
Yes, please.
Okay, Keshnee Kemp is a content marketing leader with deep expertise in millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha. With a background spanning TV, digital, and social, she's led high-performing content teams for Australia's leading brands across retail, lifestyle, beauty, parenting, and home. Welcome, Keshnee. It's great to have you.
Hi, ladies. Thank you for having me. It's really good to be chatting with you guys.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit off air about, your background and stuff like that. So great to finally have you on the podcast. But for those who are listening who don't know you, can you give us a bit of background about your career and how it's all evolved to this point?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll keep it brief, but I started as an intern in magazines. I lived in Queensland. I just had this dream. I really wanted to work in mags. And I thought if I didn't go ahead and just make a run for it, then I'd never make it. So I moved from the Gold Coast to Sydney, and I lived in a backpackers for a while until I got employed to work for free, as we must start.
Yay.
Fetching bananas and flat whites and all the rest. And then got my first gig as a editorial assistant, became a writer, worked my way up, and then went to television, which was really fun. Another way of just, telling stories and communicating with customers on a different platform. And then I got a phone call for my first editorship, which was Cosmopolitan. So I went and did that, had a baby along the way, went to Who magazine, promoted into head of digital. And then I moved into FMCG, into Woollies, which is, I guess it feels like a bit of a departure, but really it was about storytelling in a different format for a different brand. So yeah, that was my quick career journey.
Your potted career journey.
And we'll talk a bit about it because you've also started up your own agency. So going from a big corporate like Woolworths, and I worked there, it's a big company, to starting your own agency, it's such a big step. What was your thinking behind it?
You know what? I've been there. I was at Woolies for 5 years, and I grew the team from 5 to 26, and we launched all these channels, and we did all the scary things, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love Woolies. Like, I love the people there. I loved my team. Felt very blessed to be a part of that, to be honest. Like, it was such great training. But I'd done all the scary stuff and I was a bit bored. Like I didn't want to become complacent. I feel too young to be bored. And so I felt like if not now, when, So I decided I'll take all the bits that I've known as well as learned, as well as the bits that I think are annoying working with agencies, and I'll make one myself.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the journos that we've had on the podcast or know personally have worked in media, but then they've also gone client side. What are the big differences between them?
Look, it's hard to say because I feel like my experience as an agency versus agencies I've experienced, it shapes you differently when you've come from media background, like you've come from actual platform background. That's very different. It's almost like there's three, right? There's like, media is a traditional form, print, TV, etc. Then there's brand side, and then there's agency side. They're all quite different. Coming from media into a brand I feel like media people, and I brought a lot of media people into Woolies as well. We have this level of grittiness, like, underdog needs to get the number, never had much budget. The content has to be very good. Otherwise it won't work. And so when you come into a business like Woolworths, you've got these tools of how to make the most of very little. And you have to have those fundamental storytelling qualities to make it work. So I felt like my training prepped me really well for Woolies. And then Woolies shaped me again to prep me for agency, if that makes sense. I've learned all the corporate side. I learned how to push things through engagement with stakeholders in a risk-averse business. I learned, how to have 17 meetings to get something over the line. All of those things I would never have had before.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and particularly at Woolies, which is a bit slow moving sometimes. How do you navigate that pressure? Now you're in charge of your own agency to be always ahead in a world that moves so fast.
I kind of love it, to be honest. Like I love the pressure of it. I think it's really fun. The scariest thing I've ever had to do when I looking back is being in a control room for live television and news breaking, and you're in control, and the script that you're saying in the ear of the host is what they're saying on national television. Like that's stress, like that's real stress. And so when I think about the pressure to be first, I actually find that quite exciting. I like exhilarating. I like that pressure. And I also think, part of me knows that if you resist and you don't lean into, have that a little bit of competition about you, it's really hard to be at the top of your game in social because it's changing all the time. So if you don't like speed and you don't like that, it's probably not the industry for you from a content perspective, because customers aren't very forgiving. Audiences won't forgive you for being 3 days late. They'll just go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's so interesting. We're seeing a lot of journalists sort of leaving media and going into marketing and content. And you said you had quite a few journalists in your team. What sort of skills do you think they bring?
Oh, I love when it's such a passion point of mine of bringing journos into marketing, because storytelling, it's definitely, the word's been overused, but it's the fundamental of a good strategy, I think. And so a lot of journos who, can derive something beautiful out of pretty much anything, journos can do that. You can turn a basic strategy into an exceptional strategy. So I think that the foundational skills of journalists, of creatives, are really wonderful, quite unicorn skills in marketing. And while they may not, or they may, but depending on your experience, have the strategic sense, I think that's trainable. What isn't trainable is journalistic sensibility for everyone. I don't think. So I think it's a wonderful combination, really rare to have a strategic brain and a creative brain in content. It makes a wonderful marketer.
I love that. Talk to us about your agency, what you do, how it's structured and all of that.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different parts of the agency. So one is that we do social media marketing for clients. So we've got a mix of different clients, and basically we look after their content creation strategy and their paid ads. And it's pretty much traditional agency sense in that way, except that the team is super lean. Like I don't believe in stacking or layers, etc. We've just got, you've got rather than an account manager, it's really a head of content who also manages the account. And then you've got a paid performance lead. It's pretty straightforward. And then on the other side of it, I consult directly into businesses to help them either drive performance within their own team, uplift capabilities within their own teams, or build their strategies that will work. So that's a service I offer as well. And then I also do a little bit of speaking at events, which I really love. I really love being with people and being able to feed off energy in an audience and in a crowd. So traditional agency, except consulting is part of it as well.
Oh, so interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I know that one of the biggest, toughest things about having an agency is having that strong team, and you obviously have a very lean model. Does that mean that you have, key contributors that, kind of a pool that you pull from, or are you always looking for new people for that?
Yeah, it just depends on the client needs. I like to have a pool of people I've worked with over the years or have, connection to because it's at the end of the day, I've got really high expectations and I want to make sure that every single thing that a client gets is what I would want to put in front of them. The way it currently works is I have contracted team members, which really works in scale because we're growing really fast. And so we want to make sure that it's right for them and right for us and gives them flexibility, etc. And then also freelance on some creative. So I have some preferred creatives that we just plug in for work. And that tends to work for us. So it's quite consistent. We've worked together a long time or even, the same client, etc. But yeah, I do use both.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Mm.
an interesting thing. So much is about relationships, isn't it?
So much is about relationships. Like
Mm.
all of the clients I've got at the moment are relationships, not ads. It's from someone having worked with me before or previously. And I think as part of that, they trust that the talent I would also use would be people
Mm.
that I felt really comfortable
Mm.
with too. When it's your name,
Mm.
you want to make sure you're doing the absolute best work possible. So,
Mm.
but relationships is absolutely key. Yeah.
Mm.
Does that mean that you're sort of not having to pitch for work as much? It's just coming to you at this stage?
Yeah, that's been so far. I mean, I launched in June, right? And I've got a lot on the plate at the moment, so I haven't had to pitch for any work. But that's not saying I won't have to in the future. So far, I haven't. It's been
Mm.
really wonderful to just, to come quite organically and naturally and quite quickly, and a really good variety as well, which is really fun. But I'm sure eventually I will have to pitch for work, and that's just it. Kind of just is what it is. But at the moment, not yet.
Mm.
Mhm.
So I'd love you to talk to us about social media because I know you did a presentation. I follow you on LinkedIn. It's great LinkedIn. And you were in Perth and you did a big presentation on social media. What are you seeing in that space?
Oh, it's a really fun time and social, I think.
Mm.
Seeing a lot of, I think first and foremost, the teams who are producing on social at the moment are the most stretched, challenged
Mm.
teams. It's the environment is changing so fast, and there's a lot of pressure, downward pressure coming from leaders on, faster, more with less, that same, experience, which is not a fun time. And so lots of marketers are struggling to figure out like where should I spend my time? What channels are worth it? So there is a lot of pressure, I would say, just first and foremost, to acknowledge for teams. It's a really changing space. I think that AI is I think it's an enabler more than anything, and teams are being asked to use it, which I really love that fact. I think AI should be used to enable creativity. So do the boring shit that you don't, want to or need to do, and then
Mm.
let your creative part of the brain do the exceptional stuff.
Mm.
I think there just generally, socially, there's a desire for trust and a lack of trust towards big businesses. And so customers and audiences are really seeking authenticity. I think which has become quite a bit of a, quite a token word. So there's a lot of pressures. It feels like pressures down, pressures from audiences up, and then, just trying to team members themselves trying to manage all the tools that are available to them.
Mm.
I think what a lot of teams need to do at the moment is just go back to basics in a really simple strategy, a really simple channel strategy, why we're on the platforms we're on, what we should be acting like on those platforms, and then starting to evolve with the platforms as they change, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think it's a really wild time, and the best thing teams can do is try to chill out and simplify, I think, at the moment.
Mm. Interesting what you say about really figuring out what do we want to sound like on social. Some of the best corporate stuff that you see are, social media teams kind of going off piste a little bit and being really funny about something or, newsjacking something in a funny way that brings you back to the brand. Do you sort of help with that sort of strategy as well?
Yeah, for sure. And I do think it's really important to your point around brand tone of defining, what you are and what you aren't, because it's a very slippery slope. So,
Yep.
if you're trend jacking all the time, you're doing it wrong. It should be the best brands should be, following trends very rarely, and they should have a really strong differentiated voice so that whenever you're on their platform, that you're on their platform. I
Yep.
think a lot of brands have made the mistake of chasing too many influencers, chasing too many trends, and now they look all the same, which is a real shame. So, yes, one of the things we do is just, again, foundationally help them get back to what's the actual role of the brand and what are we trying to achieve? What's our objective? Is it commercial? Is it awareness? And then thinking about the way the brand shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can start to, in your tone, devise how you're funny and how you're self-deprecating and how you're, what you will and won't comment on, or how you support customers or not.
Yep.
We definitely did that at Woolies. But yeah, it's really important to, like, strategy is the most important thing. And before I joined Woolies, I probably wouldn't have said that. But it's really important for brands. Otherwise, you just all look the same.
Yeah. I mean, do you think corporates are still a little bit scared by social? They're not sure how to balance the messaging and also like the turnaround times, it is a full-time job really, isn't it? And so many companies do not treat it like that at all. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of businesses that are risk adverse, and they have every right to be. Like, it's a gift to be given the keys to a brand like Woolworths or a brand like, whatever. It's a real privilege. So yes, a lot of businesses are quite nervous, and a lot of team members are struggling with getting their leaders to have a go and to take their ideas seriously. And that's one of the workshops I've been doing with team members, is how to actually build a strategy that might impress stakeholders to give you a go. Like when we launched TikTok at Woolies, we hadn't done it before, like that was 2.5, 3 years ago, I think. And that was quite nerve-wracking for a lot of people, understandably. But building, the foundation, like the data, like why should we even be there in the first place? Because you can't have any change on a hunch or a gut feeling. You're probably right, but you better back up by data,
Yeah.
So I think a lot of stakeholders react well to data. They should, if they're commercially minded. There's this data is why we should be there. This is the role our brand could play there for our customers. And these are the gaps we're missing. Like, if we're not present on these social platforms, we're missing our customer base. You can't afford to not be where your customers are. That's not a great commercial choice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a lot of business are nervous. They will get there. It's just on the team of taking them on the right journey to being able to take a calculated risk. If it feels like a risk, at least it's calculated.
Yeah. I'd love to just like kind of divert a little bit and ask you what mistakes you see brands making on social. I think that could be interesting.
Yeah, my biggest bugbear is that just completely copy pasting what other brands do because it worked in the US or it worked somewhere else.
Yeah.
And just doing, it looks exactly like everybody else. There's a brand, I won't mention the name, but I really love them in Australia, and they're a fantastic brand, but they have just completely flooded their own platforms with influencers. And the point of influencers, right, is that they're fantastic. But the point is that you're using an influencer to reach their audience, so that you're kind of getting street cred through their audience. A lot of brands publish influencers all over their own brand platforms. So the brand is kind of somewhere behind all of that content, but you can't really see it. So that's one of my bugbears, is understanding the role of why you're leveraging these channels and not completely diluting your brand to the point that customers can't tell that they're even on your brand platform. That's annoying. I think trend jacking, like deciding when is the right time. For a lot of brands, that Coldplay, meme and incident just was not one to play in. Like, it shouldn't have been the one to play in.
But so many did.
So many did. And some probably played fast and it made sense for their brand. Some, I feel like there is absolutely no point to be there and actually is detrimental. Like, pick your space.
The same with the Taylor and Travis engagement is another one that everyone's
it's not for everyone, and it doesn't actually do anything for your brand. You really have to think about what the outcome is for the brand. And if you can't, you could say it in an elevator pitch, just don't go there. Like, you should be good enough creatively to think of another way or match the right trend. But yeah, that I struggle with that. I think we've got a little bit too excited about virality, that we've just become a little lazy.
Yeah. It's
Mm.
interesting. So you use some freelancers. So what are the skills you feel are important for freelance writers and the freelancers you use? Obviously, it's putting words together, but what else do they need?
Look, I think freelancers now need to be really aware of what's happening on the platforms, like
Mm,
actually be really, aware of what's performing and not. And it
mm,
could be just sign up to newsletters of people you're
mm,
influenced by or you believe have something to say. Just
mm,
know what is happening. If the word limit's changing, like just basic stuff like that.
mm,
Or, all of a sudden there's this trend at long forms working on these new platforms. The more you understand all of that stuff, the easier
mm.
your pitches will become because you'll be fixing a problem for the client without them having
Yeah.
to ask you for it. So yeah, I would suggest, stay on top of whatever field you're in. And I would say don't be resistant to change and thinking that your patch won't change. Everything will change. If you're traditionally long form writer and you've always written for print and print is diminishing, that will change, right? So
Yeah.
acknowledge that and use your skills and evolve it into other ways. Being resistant is like a slow death. It's just not a great idea. So
Mhm.
lean in and embrace it. And where you feel uncomfortable, that's where you should be leaning. Like where it feels like, oh, I don't know this, that lean harder, like lean into the pain because
Mm.
it's what will actually be your future. You have to understand it and
Mm.
be okay with it. Like come to peace with it. It's changing. The world is changing. Use your skills in new ways.
Mm. I think there are a lot of freelancers out there who are kind of in limbo at the moment. They're not sure about how much to use AI. They're not sure about how much they need to upskill or be transparent about all of that and, what the future of content is. And what are your thoughts on that? And what do you want your freelancers to be transparent about? Like, are you happy when they say, hey, I know how to repurpose all this social content using these three great AI tools that I've trained up in? Or, like what do you want and what do you not want to see?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think when you're working with a client, you've obviously they're always going to have commercial in mind, right? So if you're
Mm.
spending a quarter of your time because you're using AI and you tell them that, you probably will be, paid a quarter of the amount, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it can be used for the right purposes. I think I love AI for a lot of reasons. I like it because it simplifies things that is already my work that would have taken me 10 years to do, like
Mm.
Yeah.
super simplified. I can use my time and money elsewhere.
Yeah.
Look, I think if it's writing specifically, I would say I don't think you need to, I think you should disclose if you're using it in research. I would
Mm.
say just like anything, you check your sources, like you need to make sure that it's getting it right if you're
Mm.
leveraging research, which is really simple to do. You take it off the platform and make sure the source is right. So definitely use it in research. Don't use it in writing, as in don't let it craft your piece because that is your job. And I think let it simplify so your piece can be better. Let it take away a lot of the cutting down, perhaps, but never trust it as the final, as
Yeah.
the writer, as the final editor. It makes mistakes all the time. And it should be, you keep that in mind all the time. From a creative perspective, I would say know what tools you can use to simplify the edit process. Like if you're a creative freelancer and you're creating video, there are so many tools now that can help you simplify the process in editing. Use those. That's no problem. The agency doesn't give a shit where you edited it.
Mm.
They care on what you created. The other thing I just say to be aware of is the disclosure and privacy law, like laws and rules within each of the platforms. So, they don't have a responsibility to make sure your content is correct. That's your responsibility. Some
Mm.
of the editing platforms, they have the rights to your content. You've got to read the T's and C's. So you can't do the work for the client knowing that the world has the rights for the content because it should be the client's content. So
Mm.
just be savvy I would say, on what those platforms can do for you and just use it in a way that enables you to do what you do best rather than taking away what you do best, because then you're going to sound like everybody else who's using AI.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's so interesting. Well, that's a good lead into our question that we ask all our guests, which is about their favorite tech tips or tools, all the things they'd be lost without. What are yours?
Yeah, look, I really love the social platforms purely for social listening, other than, seeing what's happening. Social listening out of the platforms is the most up-to-date data source you can possibly get.
Mm.
Most up to date. You can have all the packs and research and all the commercial information in the world, but to know how society is thinking, feeling, reacting right this minute, social
Mm.
media. So I love social for that reason. And I love AI. I think it's fantastic. I embrace it. I use different ones. I think being able to take data from multiple different sources, so say in platform data on performance, right? And to run it through a system like AI to simplify the data and find, unique learnings, etc., is brilliant. So great. And then you can apply your creativity and experience on top of that. So I definitely love that. And what else? Look, I think also a lot of the social platforms now have in-platform editing. So if you're a freelancer or an agency or an individual creator, it's never been more easy to market yourself. It doesn't take hundreds and thousands of dollars. You can do it in the platforms now. You need to give it the time and love and passion, all those things. But it's democratized creativity in a way that means that it's accessible for everyone and everyone can do it and promote themselves. So they're my favorite kind of go-tos, which is, pretty simple.
Yeah, pretty simple.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Keshnee, for such a great chat. Tell us where our audience can find you, connect with you, sign up to your newsletter, all of that.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. I think my newsletter is on my LinkedIn, so Keshnee LinkedIn, unique name, which means it's not hard to forget.
Yes. It's great having a unique name.
Yes.
Exactly. So you can click and sign up to the newsletter. And really what I do there is the weekly update of everything that's happening social and marketing. So it's a helpful resource. Otherwise, I'm on Instagram as well, August 1 and Keshnee.
Fantastic. Wow, thanks so much for a great chat. So we'll put all those links in the show notes so you can connect with Keshnee, and also we'll put a transcript in the show notes as well, and we'll be back again next week. Thank you, Keshnee.
Thank you, Bo. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks again to our wonderful sponsors, Rounded, easy accounting and invoicing software that helps freelancers run their business with confidence.
And don't forget, if you're a gold member of Rachel's list, you can check your welcome emails for an exclusive discount code on the annual subscription rate. You can also find it in the private Facebook Gold group, or just contact us at hello@rachelslist.com.au.